All right, thank you all for being here with me today. I know you've had a long day of training, but we just want to kind of make sure we get some stuff lined out for this coming school year. Be sure that you picked up one of the agendas when you walked in, and be sure you signed in, please. Make sure you get credit for being here. So we're going to go over Google Classroom today, and this could be totally new to some of y'all, kind of new to some of y'all, and some of y'all might think y'all are pros, but I think you can still learn something, a little refresher or something like that. So real quick, let's go over the agenda. We're going to do a little warm-up question to kind of get your brain in the right motion and thinking about what we'll be talking about today. And then we're going to watch a short video that kind of talks about technology in our ever-changing world and stuff like that. Then we're going to do how Google Classroom benefits you as a teacher and benefits your students as well. After that, we'll break off into small groups and we'll discuss how you can personally use it in your classroom and how it can benefit you, and bounce some ideas off each other, and maybe talk about some solutions, some issues you might have with it. Other than that, we'll come back together and we'll kind of discuss our small group discussions, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll get out of here, okay? So first of all, to kind of get our brain in the right motion, what we're going to be talking about today, how has technology changed in your lifetime? Take a minute to kind of think about it, discuss it, and then we'll kind of throw some ideas out there.
I love to tell the kids that we didn't have cell phones.
Exactly.
And that I wasn't on the internet until I went to college. I don't remember a time without computers, but they were like,
They weren't.
they weren't
Readily
what we
available.
think of as computers.
Yeah.
They were more typewriter type things, and there were games we played on them and computer labs. But our internet, I had a teacher in high school that had it. And she brought it to school and tried to connect, and every day she'd bring in her little dial-up connection and she'd try again, and we never did. And so I was at SFA before I saw the internet for the first time. And my kids always are just shocked by that because it's
Yeah.
something you take for granted.
Right. I remember going to the SFA library and just using those little book, looking at a book up, using that system that they had to pull up that
catalog.
door and look it up. And now you can just type it into the computer and it pops up where it is, or if they have it available or
Yeah, I just did that for an assignment.
There you go. Yeah, it has definitely changed.
So yeah, as you can tell, technology has changed so much over the years, and believe it or not, a lot of us get familiar with technology changing. The other day, me and my wife were actually talking about electric cars. It used to be so cool when you see a Tesla, and you'd freak out like, oh wow, electric car. And I think we drove 2 miles the other day and saw 3 and barely batted an eye. One of my favorite ones to talk about, I heard somebody mention the internet. I like to talk about the cell phone. I do still remember the old bags you carried, and now you can hold a cell phone in your hand, and it can do more than any laptop that we have. And so it's really impressive, and we kind of get used to technology changing, and especially the kids we're teaching nowadays. I mean, technology is so intertwined with their lives, and I don't think they really take, or they might take for granted how much technology has changed in their lifetime without even noticing, because they're so used to having things just like this. I think somebody mentioned looking up a textbook or something like that, and you can have it in the palm of your hands. And so it's a really big change, which brings me to why we're here. I know whenever I was sitting in y'all's seats that I always wonder, why are we doing this? So I always like to try to explain to y'all why we're here. And that kind of is what I'm talking about, is technology is changing more and more every day. And it's creeping its way into the classroom. A few years back, we finally went one-to-one for Chromebooks to students, and that changed the classroom. And now StarTest is completely online. 3 or 4 years ago, I would never thought we'd be talking about this, especially in a small district like us, when we struggle with internet problems on a monthly basis, and now we're depending on internet and technology to star results.
Yeah.
And then we also took a teacher survey in the last year, and we found out that a lot of our teachers aren't really fully using Google Classroom that could help them with technology. 5 said they didn't use it at all. 5 more said they created one and it was like, I use it here and there. And then 4 of them even said they didn't use it at all. They didn't even sign up for it or nothing. And so that's something we really want to change because we're trying to incorporate as much technology as possible because we want to set our kids up for success, not only on the STAR test, because it's online technology now too, but also we want to complete our mission as a school. And I'll remind you of our mission real quick. And if you'll notice, it says to compete, contribute, and meet the challenges in a changing, complex society. And man, is our society getting more complex and more challenging every day. And so that's the bottom line of why we're doing what we do, is to get our students ready for that real world experience. And so real quick, it's just about a 3-minute video. And it's kind of talking about technology a little bit.
Who can say what the future holds? Well, we can, of course, or at least we can guess. And one thing that seems pretty certain is that digital technologies of all kinds are going to play an increasingly important role in all our lives as we move into the future. So it's pretty safe to assume then that for the vast majority of our students, digital technologies will be central to their lives as adults. Up to now, we've taught literacy and numeracy as a priority. We do so as these are the principal tools with which our students will find their way in the world as adults. But now there's a new set of skills that students need in order to tackle the world. And I would argue that first amongst those new skills is digital literacy. It's very well to say that students need digital literacy, but what is digital literacy? And how does it differ from traditional literacy skills? There's a lot of fancy explanations out there, but the short answer is it's a person's ability to make constructive use of digital technologies. How do you become digitally literate? The same way you become literate. Exposure to texts, and an opportunity to use what you've learned. By that reasoning, it's clear that regular use of digital technologies in the classroom is going to have a profound impact on a student's digital literacy skills. Lots of people assume that using digital technologies for engagement means playing games. And sometimes it does. But more than that, it's about using the tools that are meaningful to students to assist them in their learning. Tools that allow them to express their thinking. If that happens to be through a game, then fine. Ultimately, when using any technology, old or new, it's the capacity to create that most students find engaging. Technology is all about two things, mostly. Making existing tasks easier and allowing people to perform tasks that were previously impossible. What if your class could take a tour of the Colosseum? What if your class could talk with a marine biologist? What if you could spend a quiet afternoon with your class exploring the surface of Mars? There is one thing you can rely on when it comes to technology, and that is, it's going to change. It may sometimes feel as though the relentless march of technology is something frightening. After all, each of these technologies was state-of-the-art when I began school. But the more you use it, the more accustomed to incorporating new technology into your classroom you will become. Each new technology simply merges effortlessly into your practice, and you never know what amazing teaching tools the future will hold.
So the first thing I
So what
noticed
did you think of this list?
when watching that video is that last clip there of the sorry, I'm gonna get this. Next slide. Is the camera rolls and the phone booths. That'd be a fun assignment to do with your kids, like show them a picture and say, hey, what is this? But like the video kind of discussed, is technology can be done in so many different ways and help in so many different ways. And trust me, we're not sitting here saying, hey, throw out the pen and paper, throw out the textbooks. We still want those kids to hold on to those traditional learning styles and traditional ways of life. But whether we like it or not, technology's coming. And we gotta be sure our kids are prepared for it. And that's kind of what we want to use Google Classroom for, is to be that hub for your technology. That everything kind of run through that and can be connected to that, and it'll make it so much easier on you. Like he said, technology is designed to either do things we never thought was possible, like electric cars, or to make things easier, like grading papers for you. And so that's kind of what we're going to kind of look at today. And so we're going to look at how it is, how it's useful for you. Different teachers can use it different ways. It's kind of designed to be however you would like to do it. You can do different subjects, different topics, and use it for different kind of reasons. I know a lot of people use it for bell ringers. A lot of people use it for class discussions. It doesn't have to be something that is every single part of your class, but it should be a pretty big content of what you do in your classroom. Google Classroom can be a tall task for some people. It can be a negative kind of outlook for them because there's so much you can do with it that's overwhelming. And they're like, hey, I'm just not going to do that. But it's very user friendly, and that's what a lot of people don't kind of take consideration is if you just kind of play with it for a little bit, you'll get a good idea of what's going on. And then we will offer some more in-depth training for Google Classroom and how you can link other technology to it. And just a few of those and you'll be a pro of Google Classroom. But the big thing about Google Classroom is it makes your classroom efficient. You can post everything there, and I mean everything. You can do important information, assignments, class discussions, and that way it kind of helps you focus on how your classroom flows, and you're not pulling from here and going from there. Everything kind of runs through this, what I call a hub. Next is communication headquarters, kind of going along the lines of it being efficient. This should be your communication headquarters. You can, with a click of a button, email all of your students in the class. You can invite guardians or parents to be involved in this Google Classroom, and that way you can keep them informed. If you're emailing a student, you can click a button and it automatically includes their parent or guardian. It just, once again, makes your life easier and more efficient and be able to kind of move through quickly through your day. Another thing is organizer. It kind of keeps everything organized by subjects and topics and that kind of stuff, and it makes it a little bit easier to kind of go through your everyday lessons and everything. It keeps your students updated because everything you kind of see on your screen, they see. And then one of my favorite things is for students that are absent and then new students. If a student is absent for a day or two, bam, your work, all your materials you posted is there. There's no excuse for them to be like, well, I don't know, I didn't know. It's there. And then if you have a new student come in, I know it's kind of always a pain to get them caught up pre-test. Here's the information you need. Oh, let me go find that in my papers I need to give you. You can have a category just for that alone. So a new student comes in, you give them the code for Google Classroom, and then bam, here's this information you need. Hey, do me a favor when you get a chance, take that pre-test, and we'll know where you're at, basics and that kind of stuff. So it's very useful to have as far as a teacher goes. Once again, I can't stress enough, like the video said, technologies make your life easier. Don't make it harder for yourself. Let it make it easier. If you're wondering, okay, that's good for like the classroom and stuff like that, but what does it do for me personally? How can it help me? One thing is paperless. Who doesn't like to save the environment, right? But if even it's not about the environment, I know when I was teaching, my desk used to be covered in papers everywhere, and I'd try to have it organized and all that kinds of stuff. And I know you English teachers have a whole different kind of outlook on that. But it keeps it all organized for you. You can have it done by topics. And it eliminates the idea of you having to sort through things. And it's all right there. To click of a button, you just click through it, and you got it. It keeps up with late work for you and missing work. Not only does it kind of alert you, say, hey, this person, if you're looking at the grades, this person's late, but it alerts the students as well, and that's always nice to have because I know sometimes it slips your mind. Oh, third period, I forgot to remind first and second that these kids are missing their work and everything like that. They know it. The Google Classroom's told them. And then we talked about mentioning it, keeping parents involved. That's always a key factor in making sure your students are doing well, performing well, and the parents are know what's going on in your classroom and how the students are doing. That's always a plus. And then one of my favorites is grading done easy. Is you can have it worked out with Google Forms that works really well with Google Classroom, and it's a Google quiz, and you can have a key, and when the students submit a worksheet or a quiz or a test, it's graded for you. The only thing you would have to do is, if it's short answers or a written portion, you can change the settings. You can let them know they made multiple choice, or you can keep the score for yourself. You can grade the writing portion, and then you can release the scores to them that way. And I know a lot of teachers say, well, then I have to go through each document. It's all on one page. And so you're grading it, you do your grading, you make your notes, click the arrow, you're on the next person's essay. And once again, it's efficient and smooth and goes right along. One bonus perk I didn't put on my slide, but I love, it alerts you if they're cheating. If they try to, hey, I finished my slideshow, or hey, I finished my essay, will you share it with me? It will send an email to you saying, hey, John Doe shared their work with, and it won't let them, and it will alert you of that. So it kind of helps prevent from cheating and that kinds of stuff. So just a quick knowledge check to see what you know about Google Classroom. Whenever you get done with the class for the year or for an assignment and you want to get rid of it, delete it, however you want to think about it, what actually happens to that class? Anybody know?
It's archived.
It gets archived. And one little perk of that is once you have your class set, it's set for you as long as you want it to. You can actually go back and revive classes, or you can even have a new class the next year, and you can go back into that old class and just click on that assignment, boom, it's posted in your new assignment or your new class. And so that's one of the complaints teacher has, like, well, then year in, year out, I got to upload this stuff. No, once you have it uploaded, it's there, and you just have a click of the button, and it's reshared, I guess you would say. One thing I like doing, going off that complaint, one thing I like doing is have a Google Drive. And on that Google Drive, I have all my work and all my assignments turned on that one thing. And that way, year in, year out, I'm not having to go back into archives. I'm just clicking the same thing year in, year out. And just over summer, I update what I want to update, and it's brand new curriculum right there. So it's very beneficial to the teachers and for the students. Number one, easy for them to use. And we all know that they can probably use a computer better than we can. They've taught me a few things for Google Classroom along the way. But it's very user-friendly. They can see everything. It helps the students keep up their work. Like I mentioned earlier, it lets you know that it's late. It lets them know it's late. And so they're constantly monitored. Hey, I have this. I've had, in the past, had assignments turned in, at 5 o'clock because they got home and, oh, I didn't do this. And they can hop on there and get it done. And it alerts them when it's missing. So, we always get that question, hey, Miss So-and-so, what work am I missing? Hey, what work am I missing? Well, if you have your work assigned through Google Classroom, they don't have to ask you. You can still check on them, verbalize with them, hey, have you done this, check on that, but they can see it too, and just another reminder for them. Like I just previously mentioned, they can complete their work at any time. They can take it home. I know with our district, they can take their Chromebooks home. So they can take it home, work on it, and that way that kind of relieves some pressure of, if you can get this done in this time period, I have to save some time for tomorrow, and so on. And then another one of my favorites is eliminates lost work and those silly excuses. Although in my time, the student did bring a picture of chewed up homework from a dog, but we've all heard those excuses. And that kind of eliminates that factor because it's right there. They can, for my Chromebook, oh, that's fine, here's an extra one. You log in, there's your work. Okay, and so it kind of just eliminates that whole idea of, well, 3 days ago you said you didn't have it, and now where is it? And they continue to work on it. And another thing too is exposure for college. Nowadays, most even in-person college classes have some sort of online program where they have to turn in work, go through quizzes, and even lectures and stuff like that. And then the increasing popularity of online classes as well. And so that really kind of gets the students prepared for that. So real quick, and this is going to be a quick little tour because, like I said, if you want more training, we can get you some. And I really encourage you to go to your computers and just kind of play with it. You'll see. But real quick, this is how it looks from the teacher perspective. And actually, the students isn't much different. They'll have their classes listed here. And my favorite thing is under this white box right here, if there's assignments scheduled, it will be on there. So as soon as they log on to their Google Classroom, they see all their assignments for their classes. And they know what's coming on. I think it even alerts them if it's late or not. Over here, it's a fun little tool that you can use. It's just a review. It tells you how many work in your classes and assignments have been turned in. Right now it's on all classes. You can just pick one. How many have been assigned and how many you've graded. So it kind of helps you check, hey, I need to look at this. I need to work on that. I need to get caught up in that area. And then you have a calendar. It is by week. But you can kind of click on it real quick. Once again, it's on all classes. So if I clicked on this and say I had a pop quiz coming up the 16th, it would tell me, hey, right here's the quiz. So it kind of reminds me, helps me stay organized and keeps my class flowing smoothly. You can click on any classes. We've had some teachers in the past do all students on one class. I personally don't recommend that because it gets a little cramped and has a lot, but they looked at it as, well, I can just post it one time. the rebuttal to that is whenever you go to post it, you can click on each individual class and it posts them all. So there's no point in doing them all together. So this is how a class looks. This is the stream page. You can personalize it how you want. I have our school logo right here, but you can put different kind of pictures on there for your liking. This right here is a Google Meet. If you don't know what that is, it's like a Zoom meeting pretty much. This was very useful during remote learning. However, there's still possibility of, let's say somebody breaks a leg and they're out for 3 or 4 weeks, they can't come to school. If it's all in Google Classroom, that student, whether they like it or not, doesn't have an excuse and they can keep up with work. But this Google Meet also allows for you to check in with them and see it, check on there what's wrong. Excuse me, guys. This is the Google class code. You can copy it, you can pull it up. This is how simple it is. You give them the students this code, they're in it. It's very simple. This shows up on the student's page as well. It's upcoming work, lets them know what to do in your particular class and all that. Now, if you notice the stream page here, this is one of my favorites. I'll have it earlier. So this right here is how the stream page looks most times. It's very crowded. Has all the materials, all the assignments, and everything. And so one thing I like to do with my classes is I come up here to little settings up here, and I go to classwork on stream, and I put hide notifications. And what that does, it sounds like a bad thing to do. What it does, it clears it up for the students. The only thing that will pop up now is my announcements. So if I made an announcement or something like that, it pops up on this stream page. And so what my students realize is that, hey, streaming is for teacher announcements. This is where he'll let me know what's coming up and any important announcement he has to make. And then classwork is another tab, and that's where all their work is. If you have it the other way, it all shows up on here, and it gets to the point where students just quit paying attention to it because there's so much going on it. But it just kind of helps them stay organized and what's going on. So here is the classwork page. This is almost unlimited what you can do. There's more stuff here than I can explain to you, which is why we're offering more training for you in the future. But pretty much you can create anything. You can do an assignment. This is where somebody's turning something into you. It could be a slideshow, a Google Doc, a Google form. It can be just all different kinds of things that you need from them. It could be as simple as responding to a question. Then we have the quiz assignment, which is kind of the same deal, but it automatically gives you a Google form, and it allows you to have this different aspect of you can actually lock the browser. And so when they click on that Google form, it's the only thing they can click on. So this is what's great for pop quizzes, chapter quizzes, or even tests, because like I said, as soon as they're done, it's graded for you. You're done with it. You upload it to your gradebook. Question here is just a simple, it posts a question out there for them. Teachers use this for group discussions. They use it for knowledge checks. They can even use this for an exit ticket. And that's just something simple and quick and easy. And then material. I know history teachers use this a lot because they're posting class notes or they're posting articles and different stuff like that. And this is pretty much just, it's like, hey, here's this. It's a PDF kind of thing. And the students know that, hey, I don't need to turn anything in for this, but this is something I need to take in, I need to know. And then you can use the reuse posts if you do something like bell ringer turn-ins. That's what a teacher did before. And so they just constantly just hit that reuse, and they can turn in bell ringers there. Off to the side, we have our topics. And you can do it by weeks, and it'll bring you to it. You can do it for class information. This is where you could upload the class syllabus, pre-tests, all that kinds of stuff. Or you can do it by chapters. Once again, whatever is best for your classes that you want to do.
Do all of those automatically show up there on that left side?
Will they automatically show up there? Yes.
Like, how do you create a...
So what you can do, whenever you create an assignment, you have the topic over here, and you can just add that. And now one thing I did learn not too long ago is you can actually just go in there and create topics. I didn't know that before. So you can actually go in there and create topics, and then as you're going through the year, you can tell it, let's say you have a research project coming up, and you don't have anything in that category yet, but first week of school, you can say, hey, here's what our research category is. This is where I'm going to add material for you to know and to do research on.
Interesting.
Then that takes us to people. This is the next tab over. This is where you can get all the emails. Like I said, just one click. Technically, it's 2 clicks, and then it's email. but one click and it highlights all of them, or you can go in there and select, say I have small groups and I need to send something to this just one group, I can click them and just send it to them. And then one thing I do encourage you to do is on that first week when you get everybody added is invite guardians. This will send an email to the parent, the guardian, and then that keeps them involved into their students' progress and what's going on in your classroom. And once again, you just click a button and it emails parents. So if you send out weekly updates or monthly updates, whatever it is, you just click it and boom, it sends out an update for you. Then one of my personal favorites is the grading section here. Once you get the grades from the Google Forms, or you're going through your grading essays, you click 100, bam, 75, bam, it all uploads right here. Right now, there's not a whole lot turned in because it's an example, but there's a lot of missing. So it tells you what's missing. It can even tell you what's done late, so it keeps you aware of that. And then what's nice about this, it's all organized for you. I know when I was teaching, I would have it all done, and then I'll be like, okay, here's this, type this, here's this, type this. I can pull up 2 windows. Here it is. I can go through quickly and just transfer over the information to my grade book, and then bam, my grades are done. It's a very efficient, quick way to update your grade book for your class. So that's a quick outlook of what it all can do. Like I said, I highly encourage you to go play with the settings. You can learn stuff. There's several videos. There's actually an EduHero training as well that you can go, and it will kind of walk you through the basics, kind of what I'm doing here, but a little bit more in depth in certain situations, and it's very interesting itself. Now, what we're going to do right here is we're going to break into smaller groups, and you're already in your groups at your table, so you don't have to move around or anything. And I just want you to kind of discuss how you can personally use it in your classroom, any ideas how to interact with other technology, and then any issues you think you might have with it. We'll kind of get those out and discuss that. And I'll be walking around as you discuss that, and then we'll come together and discuss it as a whole class.
I didn't know that topic. Oh, no, we could break down.
It is
Yeah.
neat. I did learn something today.
Yeah, same.
I use Google Classroom a lot. I don't use the forms very often because most of my work is actually like you have to read and give feedback, and because I teach English, I do assign the essays and I go through them. I love the fact that I can add comments all through them, although I don't think the children typically go back and read the comments because next week I'm writing the same kind of comments. So I've got to figure out a way. Maybe there needs to be some kind of follow-up.
What if there's a tool inside of it that you forces them to
Like-
respond or read or something?
Yeah, maybe I could give
Or
a
alert
follow-up grade, like,
Yeah.
okay, these are the comments, you have to go through and read the comments and reply to 3 of them or something.
Add 5 points if you respond to my comment or something.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
Oh, and so many of them just care about the 70,
Yeah.
not all of them, but so many of them. I've got to do a better job of linking my textbook, because the assignments that I use from my textbook, I don't know how to do that. I just tell them, sign in HMH,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do,
Yeah. And I didn't think about on those, what you were showing on the creative, to go down to that one spot where you can add notes or whatever. I've just always put the notes into the assignment, but if I had that in a separate spot, that might help. Yeah, that might help. That they could go back later, cause that once it gets buried,
exactly.
they wouldn't go back to look.
I know how to add my other things that I use to supplement, but I don't know how to use my textbook. How to,
Yeah,
Link
because
it
it's
together
pretty
with-
easy to add videos or, link to quizzes or Kahoots or something and have that data transfer over. I do that a lot. I will do quizzes.
All right. Y'all getting some ideas out there, some thoughts?
yes.
So what are some ideas that y'all come up with so far?
She was, I And I
Yeah,
know
it's
it.
the end of the day.
I've been begging your husband trying to learn how to drive a bus. Miss Roberts and I were both saying how we like the add topics because neither one of us had used that, and I said that I need to learn how to link my textbook. I've only used Google Forms a few times because most of my writing is short answer or essay.
And you can do that right in the Google Classroom.
Yeah.
There's no sense in using a form for that.
Right.
So on the English STAR test, since it's online now, how does the writing part work? Is it like a different section?
Characters. They're on their essay. They're limited to characters. How many characters you can use? Is that what you were asking?
Yes, it is, because I'll have to check into it, but I think like Google Forms does allow for like a journal entry kind of area,
Yeah.
so you can still use it, but sometimes it is just better just to have them write it and that kinds of stuff. Another thing too is another group mentioned it was McGraw-Hill. That's where we use most of our textbooks. But I don't know what English uses.
HMH.
HMH, but I know McGraw-Hill has online textbooks, and we have seats for all of our students.
We have online textbooks. I just don't know how to combine them with Google Classroom.
That it is a different beast, but what some teachers do is they just attach that online link somewhere on Google Classroom, and they mention that's what helps for students that are out. I know one teacher has classroom set textbooks, and that's all they have. And so if a student needs to finish homework or finish work at the house, they can just click on that online link, and that's something that's useful to have that Google Classroom. That's so the teacher, they aren't looking like, what was that link at? They know it's posted right where it's at.
Yeah, because there's different spots you can probably in that section where you had mentioned you could do notes or whatever instead of in the actual assignment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like possibly under topics you could do resources
Right.
and
Yeah,
then
and that way it stays on
Yeah.
top, doesn't get buried.
Good. Wrap it up. We'll have a few more minutes, and we'll kind of come together as a group and discuss our findings from our group.
I think it's good to be able to have those topics there for the kids to click on the separation
Yeah,
of it, because it does get busy and they do.
Right. When we had the students at home last year, I'd take videos on the iPad of me going through the notes so that they could kind of see and hear conversations of me doing the notes. But I'd upload it all into just an assignment, and it got very busy, crazy, because I would have those plus their homework but I never used the tab to where I could just put blank notes or blank homework or whatever, or filled out notes even. That would have been nice if I had a spot just, to where they could go back and reference instead of watching the video.
Go through
Yeah,
everything.
because all I did was the video. I didn't actually upload just a plain copy of the notes filled out. So, I need to do that.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. As some people will kind of make their way back in the class. So some really good ideas out there. Some things that were mentioned was that how Google Classroom really helps with bell ringers and exit tickets. Now, one of the issues they brought up was, well, how do we prevent the students from you doing the bell ringer before class? And so that's one thing I failed to mention is you can actually select the. I got it. We're talking about how some teachers were saying that they would use it for bell ringers, but their students would actually do the bell ringer before class even started, that they would do it several classes before. And what you can do is, and now it does get kind of more complicated because you have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing and exactly how to post it, but you can post certain dates and times. So you can go all the way down to the time of it, and you can kind of go to wherever the class starts, and so that way it prevents them from getting ahead of it. Now it does cause a little bit more work for you because you have to go to each class and do it. But if you have certain things that you want, like a pop quiz or something like that, or like an activity, that it kind of helps with that. The other thing is exit tickets. One of the teachers said that the questions is a great way to kind of make sure you can kind of really quickly read over, see if they got what your lesson was, and see if they're comprehending everything. The other thing is Kami. Has anybody used Kami before? That came up. It's really user friendly on Google Classroom. There's actually, if you go to the create assignment, there's actually a Kami assignment on there.
I have that, but I haven't used it. Maybe I just need more time looking around because it seemed a little hard or something. But you know,
Mhm.
I hadn't spent. A lot
I
of
do
time.
think it's one of those programs that it's a lot to take in.
Mhm.
But from what I've heard, it's very useful for the kids, and that for it being technology driven, and so on. Another one is Kahoot. Is another really easy one. You can create a Kahoot, pop it in the link, and it's just a quick way to get the class started. Another thing that I heard out there was Study Island. Study Island's the program where it's kind of like Star Prep. Once again, it's really easy. You can have a link right there at all times, and that's what it kind of boiled down to is, like I mentioned, this Google Classroom is more of a hub. And that's what we kind of want to treat it as, is so that all these different kind of technology things that are out there, well, this is where all the students know good to go. If I need to find a link, if I need to find something, then that's it. And so I believe that kind of brings us to wrapping things up. And so overall, what we're hoping today will do is kind of get us more comfortable with Google Classroom and making our classrooms more technology driven. Like we mentioned early on in this meeting, was some of us like to stick to the pen and papers, and I'm one of those people. I have to write everything down to remember it, and I'm a traditionalist when it comes to that, but the world is changing. And so with all this new technology coming out, with Study Island, with Kami, with Kahoot, and all these different kinds of, I can sit here and name probably about 10 different activities and programs that we use just in our campus, and that gets hard for the students. And that's when you got to kind of put yourself in their shoes. Is it gets hard to, well, what was my Study Island login? Well, what was this link? What was that? What was this? And the goal is to make it more efficient and easy for them. And that's what this Google Classroom can do for you and your students. Are there any questions or concerns about Google Classroom that you still would want answered today? Good? All right. Well, one thing I would like for you to do is whenever you leave here, I'll send out a Google form that will have some survey questions on there. Let us know how this kind of helped you, any advice or tips. I will also be checking your lesson plans this coming year to see how you're incorporating not just technology, but Google Classroom as well. And then within that, we're actually going to be turning in our lesson plans on Google Classroom. I will create a Google Classroom for all teachers to join. And that way it will send out friendly reminders to turn in lesson plans. I'll be able to send out announcements, and we'll be able to kind of have our own efficient classroom for ourselves. So I really appreciate y'all being here today. Thank y'all, and y'all have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.